Hey, welcome back to Tuesday Guys Trade Stocks. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Vinny.
And today, what we're going to talk about is kind of a little odd. It does tie into stocks quite a bit, though. We looked at what is actually causing oil to be as high as it is. I was curious if it's as simple as, people say Biden sucks. It's his fault. So I was very curious as to, is it actually his fault? What's going on? And we do have a multivariable analysis ready on why it is actually this high.
All right, I like it. I'm looking forward to hearing about it. If you guys enjoy this kind of entertaining stock market content or all things personal finance, by all means, give us a like and subscribe below. Love to have you along this little venture of ours.
Boom.
Tuesday Guys Trade Stocks.
All right, let me get your face down here.
Is he saying drill, baby, drill? I'm pretty sure that's what he's saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into this. This is a crude oil total price chart. I just wanted to look at, this is very important. This red circle here actually dropped to oil was worth negative money. Okay?
Yep.
Remember that?
Yeah, the COVID crash, man.
Exactly. That is actually almost directly responsible for what's happening right now. And it's pretty wild how this is happening 2 years later.
All right. I'm interested to hear the little web of facts you're about to weave.
Yeah. So, first of all, what the WTI crude oil price is necessary to go public, to get publicly traded U.S. producers back into growth mode. Now, growth mode is increasing production, drilling of new wells, buying land to do that in the first place. The column here is $80 to $99. 41% will say, all right, we'll buy new lands. We'll start drilling more. Okay? 20%, 100 to 119, gets worse and worse from there. And almost 30% say, nah, not doing it. No interest in drilling more. Screw you guys. I found that kind of fascinating. That's a big portion.
Yeah, a third or so, yeah. I completely agree. That's a big chunk, yeah.
Now, why is this happening? All right. So the Dallas Federal Reserve question, executives stated oil prices between 23 to 38 a barrel on average would cover the cost of new wells. But almost 60% are saying, well, investor pressure to maintain capital discipline is one of the reasons why we're not going to grow. Then others, 15, lack of financing, government regulations, that kind of stuff. All right?
Okay.
60% blaming the investor. Oh.
I mean, capital discipline's a little more complicated than just, that like all these other factors. The way I see it, could also be part of capital discipline. It's because of these other factors that you have to be disciplined with your capital, right?
Fair, but let's see. Oh, I forgot to put a red circle there. Sorry. So let's look at dividends. All right. Due to facing prospects of a long-term decline in demand for oil and gas climate, instead of drilling wells, they have been increasing the dividend. Now, energy sector dividend is growing faster than any part of the entire market. Some notable increases over 3 years in dividend: Diamondback Energy, 370%, EOG Resources, 500%, and Pioneer Natural Resources, 2,000% increase in dividend. All right?
Okay.
Now, the 2,000, the offerings of variable dividend, it's dependent on price per barrel. So higher price, higher dividend, lower price, lower dividend. All right?
Understood.
It's like, that's pretty high. This is a quite wild statement here. This is the CEO of Pioneer Natural Resources. Whether it's 150, 200, 100, we're not changing our growth plans. No interest.
Fascinating, actually, to come out and say that, especially with such a wide swath of prices.
Yep. $200 a barrel? Nah, not drilling more, bro. No interest.
Wow. Interesting. All right.
Here's the industry as a whole. Okay, this is according to the Morningstar U.S. Market Index. The average dividend in dollars per share has grown from $14 in 2018 to $40 in 2021. All right. Now that's primarily the exploration and production sector, but integrated refining, that's all up. Drilling's minus 65, it's not near as profitable. Okay? Wild jump in increase. It's crazy. But that's not the only problem. Here's just as a whole against all other sectors. I figured, Vinny's a value guy. Maybe he takes a look at some of these dividends, see if any of these are worth it to add in a portfolio. We'll see.
Yeah, too hard to project out, unfortunately for me. The other thing that you have to kind of talk about, too, is their share buybacks. They've also approved some massive share buyback programs.
That's what this slide is.
Shareholders. Okay, that's kind of where I figured we were going.
So,
okay, there it is.
Big Oil is on, of course, a near record $38 billion in share buybacks. Okay? Now, usually, it has been Exxon leading the charge of share buybacks. This year, all the other big ones, BP, Shell, Chevron, Total Energy, Equinor, whatever, estimated $50 billion in dividends, $38 billion share buybacks. Look at this big blue bar here. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's almost double what they've done any other year since 1987. So you have a time where oil is hitting over $100 a barrel, but people aren't increasing their drilling as they're giving money back to investors in completely different ways rather than the traditional growth and drilling that they would do in the past. Now, why are they doing this? All right, let me get down here. So in the past, when oil companies would expand production volumes, they would be punished because you've got to put a lot of money to that. And then when they do that, and oil barrel goes down, or oil cost per barrel goes down, all that growth was for nothing. 4 out of the last 10 years, oil industries lost money. Oil firms lost $76 billion during the pandemic, and many small companies, which actually, I was looking at a chart, has more to do with, let's just say a higher percentage of oil for America are small companies than I would have thought. And during that big red circle, when we went down to negative for crude barrel per, dollar per
West
crude oil?
Texas Intermediate crude.
Yeah. A lot of them went out of business. They're gone. So now we have these bigger companies that are left. Now this was interesting, all right? The oil and gas industry has millions of acres leased. They have 9,000 permits to drill now. They could be drilling right now, yesterday, last week, last year. This is a quote from Biden, March 2022. So I was like, well, why aren't they? This seems like it's not cool. I read the first part. I'm like, well, maybe they just don't have any interest because they just want to give money back. Not that simple.
That's true.
So Stacey Morris, Director of Research for Alerion. The president mentioned thousands of permits on federal lands. The permit number is inflated from stockpiling as companies stockpile permits on federal lands leading up to the president's inauguration because several Democratic candidates, including him, supported banning new drilling permits on federal lands. Permits do not equate to production. There's a number of steps between securing a permit and actually bringing oil, and issues with labor constraints and fracking sand shortages are adding to obstacles.
Exactly. Okay.
What do you think about that?
True. That is completely. I remember him saying this multiple times, and to me, a little bit, this whole kind of thing reminds me of. So we're transitioning to a clean, environmentally friendly energy, and to a little degree, we kind of try to burn the bridge behind us of oil and natural gas production in many ways, where we've started to abandon it, and this is what you're seeing. You're seeing this lack of investment. Because it's kind of been left by the wayside, and now all of a sudden you realize how much you still need them, and you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I thought that this permit thing was interesting because I remember him saying this, and I didn't understand at the time. I was like, well, wait, why aren't they doing it? I thought that was like a good question, and immediately off the bat, I was like, oh, it's the oil company's fault. Start drilling, dudes. So this was kind of interesting. It's also really important to understand the argument is why don't we just turn on the spigots was one of the articles on Forbes, right? So the point from which you drill a rig to the point that you can turn it online takes 6 to 8 months. I looked at a variety of sources. Most said 8. This said 6 to 8, so I just went with this one. The supply chain is still affecting the ability to drill, as oil companies still need to get sand, I'm going to say where that's in red, and steel, while supplies diminish. Pre-pandemic, we were at 13 million barrels crude oil per day. If you look up on the federal database, I think it says 18. That's 5 million of natural gas. So not the same. And then May 2020, 9.7 million. Okay, that was 2 months after the pandemic started. We just lost almost 25-ish%.
Yeah.
Right. There is a number of articles of drilling companies saying they cannot get fracking sand.
Okay.
They're saying that sand is one of the biggest problems for opening new drills, where they don't have enough fracking sand for existing rigs and drills. So this is a little bit of a bottleneck here. Now,
there we go. I was waiting for this one. Like 10% of the labor force is gone too, right?
Yep. So there is a decrease in workers. All right. So February 2020, total oil and gas workers 137. 1 year later, 113. I also thought this was kind of funny, as they're trying to be nice about it. They said the worker population has been decreasing since 2015 and is graying.
What does that mean?
Getting older.
Okay, that makes way more sense.
They said
So
graying as average age is increasing.
All right.
I.e.,
so the new young talent doesn't go into oil production. They go
new
into
young talent.
tech.
Yes,
or crypto.
they're not going into this. They're going into tech. As of March, so 3 months ago, there is still 12,400 fewer workers than before the pandemic started. How are you going to start drilling new drills if you don't have even the same amount of workers before that happened? It's not going to work. 1 second here.
This is going to take years of investment. This is why Warren Buffett has been buying Chevron stock, because this is going to take years to fix.
Yes, it's going to take years to fix. That initial chart where we saw the price actually dip into negative money did so much damage that people didn't realize at the time, and now you have all of these multivariable factors paying for it, because on top of all these problems, there is a number of companies that don't exist anymore because they closed their doors, and a number of companies are saying, I don't want to open new drill sites because I have to prepare for that scenario if it happens again, and then I'm screwed. So you have to maintain fiscal responsibility. It's a really crappy situation.
Yeah.
This is
how you fix it.
Fascinating. Okay? This is my favorite part of this whole thing. I'm going to move your face over here. So, this chart is showing rigs drilling for oil in the U.S. 2021 to 2022. All right, let me move your face.
Yeah, to increase significantly, if I'm reading this correctly.
An increase of 60%.
Wow.
This is how messed up media is, because you'll see this graph, but you won't see this graph. This is the same graph, but moved back 2 years.
I love it. It's all about perspective.
All about perspective. You'll go on certain sites and they'll be like, some will just be, for or against politics. I don't want to get into it, but they'll only show one side, and then you just back it up 1 year, and it's like, oh, okay, hold on. Now,
yeah.
Vinny, what happens if you have just a stock that decreases 70%? Why does a 60% increase not get you back to normal?
Because you change the way the fraction will be set up, right? So now you need 140% increase to get back to the same numerical level.
Exactly.
But I mean, people like to debate that one, but that's ultimately what it comes down to when you're looking at a percentage basis. That's why the percentage can lie. But
well, just to make it easy so people understand, if I have a $100 stock and I go down 50%, I'll be at $50. Okay? Then later, let's say I increase 50%, I'll be at $75. You're not at the same percentage. And a lot of people aren't getting that statistic. They're still not even close, as you can see by the graph.
Yeah. That is pretty scary, actually.
Huh?
That is pretty scary, actually.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. Oh, just to make sure I made that clear, that was rigs drilling for oil. That was what that graph was. So there is other factors that are in there that I thought were more minor. There's some environmental concerns, all that stuff. But in relation to what's happening right now, that is why oil price is the way it is. I don't think there's a good solution. I think that this is a multivariable problem where anyone who boils this down to we need to drill more isn't understanding the variables of the problem. We have a shortage of supply. We have a shortage of workers. We have investors' sentiment no longer want to be punished, so oil companies are trying to protect them fiscally, right?
Yeah.
If a company just listened, let's take Exxon. If a company just listened and said, we need to drill more, they started buying up all these lands, started buying up all these rigs, and started doing more, they would be probably a little bit screwed in 4 years. It's going to be a problem because now they have not enough workers, too much drilling, and the cost of oil will decrease quite a bit.
The other thing that you didn't really kind of mention in this talk is, have you heard anything about refining margins? Has that come up in your research at all?
Yeah. So there was also talk of changing FDA regulation for refining. That's some of the stuff I didn't go into. It got too into the weeds. But there was some talk during the semi-annual monetary policy of changing some regulations to bring that 8 months closer to 4 or 5 months for the refining process. I didn't go into it.
Yeah, so it's an interesting point where they talk about how the last time oil was at a similar price point per barrel, that gas prices nationally were about like 80 cents a gallon lower. It was like $4.20 or so, as opposed to the $5 mark, which we recently kind of hit. And but oil was approximately the same price per barrel, because you're looking at refining margins that went from like 13% to 21%.
Yeah.
And one of the points was like, oh, just to refine more. And there was actually a rebuttal by the Chevron CEO. They were like, we're running at 95+% capacity here. Like, we haven't built new oil refineries in the United States in decades.
Yeah.
And even I think it was Shell that came out and said there will never be another refinery built in the United States because of the political winds that change and the kind of disinterest in investing in long-term kind of oil and natural gas infrastructure.
Right.
Which would be needed.
So the part of that didn't make sense to me is we're still under 13 million barrels per day. We were at 13 million barrels before that, so clearly we could refine a little bit more. It's not like we lost refining capability. You can argue we lost worker capability, decreasing workers. That's a fair argument. But there's no reason why we couldn't do 13. Now, granted, all the other reasons I just stated would tell you why we can't do 13. One, we're still missing an entire 10% of the workforce from before the pandemic, let alone the 20 that we lost. We're still missing 10, and they're graying.
I know, right? Scary. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of industries that have some serious shortages, and these things take a long time to sort out. Same thing you're thinking with pilots and airplanes, and why they have so many flight cancellations these days, and why Dylan gets stuck in Charlotte for hours.
Yes, I did. It was a great time, and Chick-fil-A was closed because it was Sunday. Yeah, it was not a good time. One other thing. Oh man, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, because the oil price is at where it's at, I don't think it is going to change for about 5 to 6 months. Like I said, there's an 8-month lag between everything that they do to fix this solution. It's not, you just don't turn on a spigot and then gas prices go down. That's not how it works. It takes a long time. There's a long process. I, for one, did not want them to change regulations to refine faster. That seems like a bad idea to me. I think those are there for a reason. I did not like that solution at all. It's like, well, let's just lower the quality of everything and pump it out. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
There's a right way to do this.
I mean, I think it'll all improve by about 2025 or so.
2025? I'm going way sooner.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah,
I'm joking.
I'm going to go.
There's going to be a political regime change.
Define improve.
As in, gas prices will moderate significantly. They come down about 10% or so from their peak where I am.
I think I'm in Arizona. I'm at like 580, I think. I think I'll be
Yeah.
sub 5 by December. I'm calling it. Oh,
I'm lucky. It's like 465 near me now.
no, good for you. All right, guys. Let us know what you think. And if anyone was curious, I would look up the fracking sand supply chain issue. It's really bad, apparently, because all CEOs are like, no, this is a problem. We can't get any. So, yeah, pretty interesting.
All right, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
Boom.